It's the first full week of work this year, and at the start of it I was hoping for some fairly dramatic changes from our work transforming the front and the side walls. But we were going to need good weather, help to arrive when it was scheduled, and an efficient supply line of stones and mortar for the two lead masons. And at this stage, after some excellent work by Miguel, Hagi and Fodo, and Luis, the excavation maestro, it looks like there might be some exciting changes to show you at the end. And at the beginning of the week, there was a beautiful morning, perfect for the first task of the week in the entrance area. Which was the sorting of the accumulated worksite rubbish, which we got started on as soon as Miguel and Fodo arrived. Hagi then arrived with some new supplies in the truck, which we then loaded up with the rubbish for the recycling depot. And with the rubbish organised, the team got into their wall work, with Hagi on the right side openings and Miguel replacing bricks with stone in the middle. All of which Enric reviewed on his first check-in of the week. With the team on their break, I cleared some final wood from the rubbish area. And Hagi then set off for the recycling depot. And while Miguel and Fodo carried on with their work, I then drove down the hill to bring Hagi back after his rubbish drop.
Yes.
I was then back to the entrance area for some more wood removing and taking out some better stones from the rubble, with Fodo joining me as part of his supply of stones for the masons.
Bueno, muy bueno.
Day 2 was due to be a big day of change for the entrance area, but when I opened up, I wasn't certain of whether it would be and when it would start. But just as they normally do, the team arrived promptly and got straight back to their stations. Then, earlier than expected, Luis, the master excavator, was back on site. And after some quick banter with the team, the work could get started. First, with some final rubbish removal from a new rubble dumping zone. With Luis weaving in and out of the gate, the team carried on with their work and left me in charge of excavation monitoring. As Luis piled into all the rubble at the side of the house that was from various floors, roof and cube removal work. Enric was back to check on all the work. Then, after a fast start, there was a brief lull for the mid-morning break. And then everyone was back into it. While Luis would happily scrape right to the wall edges, I preferred to clear the last 20 centimeters to avoid any surprises. and Miguel and I had decided that it would be better for me to clear most of the remaining cube wall, although Luis would certainly have been keen to show his skills. And with the main rubble area cleared, Luis moved some things to enable him to get to the other side of the house, where he would be clearing some rock and earth piles for us. And building a temporary platform of earth for scaffolding when we do the second half of the roof. And with Luis finished, I checked in on the team's progress. Before returning for some final cube structure removal work and tidying of the area. Day 3 was another beautiful morning, and thankfully slightly less windy than the day before. And with the entrance area now cleared, the workstations could be reorganized and water stores refilled. Frodo had an appointment first thing, so Haggy took on the initial mortar work. and I was due to cover some of his other tasks. While Miguel returned for some final work on the base of the wall corner. And after Enric arrived for his daily check, there was then another welcome arrival, sporting some smart new attire. With Photo back on support duty, I moved on to some other prep for upcoming work on the next wall of the extension. While back outside, I thought Photo should have some headwear to match his new gear. With everything progressing well, I headed to town for some supplies. And once back, I stopped to enjoy watching some of Miguel's last work on the corner, now that he was on the ground level and free from rubble. The main focus for day 4 was due to be on the front wall, although we were expecting a couple of arrivals in the morning. The first arrival was for a big delivery of sand, and the second arrival was Rex being back on site for the morning. And with the sand pile on site, we all returned to work, with Rex kindly clearing the grassy part of the entrance area before later clearing the last rubble from the sidewall. By late afternoon, the team had progressed across the front wall, leaving plenty of rubble that now needed removing from the access opening. For the final day of the week, the plan was for more work on the walls and more rubble removing before more started to be dropped from above. Time for the return of my old friend, the rubble board. Día aquí. ¿Qué tal?
Bien, ¿y tú?
Bien.
Escucha, este es el señor Wilson representando. Hay una clase de persona y no es como tú.
During Enric's check-in, we had discussed the plan for next week, and with the weather forecast not looking great, we agreed to get ready for some indoor work at the start of the week. So while the team continued with their work on the front and side wall, I started prepping for next week. Clearing space in the open plan area and then collecting various brick and stone supplies that we might need.
Ritengo allora solo partito canale
Quiero una oportunidad.
yeah.
And as we finished off for the day, there was time for one last bit of clearing up. Birthday for his birthday. And that is the end of work for this week, during which we have acquired a large pile of sand. We've cleared a truckload of rubbish and then promptly put some more back in that corner. And we have moved a mountain of rubble as far as the other side of the path. While on the front side of the house, we've finished giving this first section a stone finish. We've patched up a lot of the area in the middle, and Haggy is making good progress on the opening and stones on this final part. And next week I'm hoping for similar progress on this side wall, which we started work on today. Although the weather might not be as helpful as it has been recently, with a lot of rain forecasts for the first few days. But after many days of work, removing the cube structure and then repairing the wall, I am very excited by the end result of this corner, which I think is a stunning addition to the house, and for which I am very grateful to the dedication and artistry of Miguel, who I think has done a fantastic job, of which he can be extremely proud.